What is up, you guys? Welcome back to Alyssa J TV. If you don't know me, I'm Alyssa, and today, okay, I already know, I can hear you guys in the comments now. Oh, why is Alyssa making this video? Alyssa this, Alyssa that. Listen, watch to the end of the video. That's what a lot of people don't do, and then stuff that they say people address later in the video. So this video I wasn't even gonna make, but because of recent things that have happened at my school, I'm like, yeah, okay, we'll do this. Play dirty. I'll play dirty back. I am a Dixie girl. What is that, you may ask? Well, the definition I found says a girl whom is normally from Georgia and is a total brat / diva. Well, I'm not from Georgia, but the rest is true. Wait. In all seriousness, I am a Dixie girl, but I didn't know the definition was that. I thought it was something else growing up, so I'm going to make my own definition. Dixie girl. A girl who loves the South style and wants to be in the country. I know I come off as a city girl and dress like a goth half the time, but nothing sounds better than a horseback ride through the country. I hope to achieve that dream someday. You might be wondering what caused me to make this video and why I feel the need to say this. Like I said, it's because of an incident that happened at my school, and I want to talk about it because I feel like it's not handled enough, and too many of us have become way too sensitive of not seeing both sides of everything that we're taught. You guys know, judging by the title, what we're about to talk about, so let's just jump straight into it. I want to start off by saying that the flag wasn't even their official symbol. When rebels fired on Fort Sumner in April of 1861, they flew a blue banner with a single white stripe called the Bonnie Blue Flag. A little bit after things kicked off, the Confederate States of America adopted the flag that riffed off the United's Stars and Stripes, known as the Stars and Bars. The flag featured a white star for each Confederate state on a blue background with 3 stripes, 2 red, and 1 white. However, that flag and the Union's flag, well distinct, look similar from far away, so at the July 1861 battle at Fort Massachusetts and during other events, some troops mistakenly fired on their own comrades. Yeah, I don't know how you don't see the problem with that one, but I digress. So eventually, General Peary Beauregard commissioned a new battle flag design. This flag became known as the Southern Cross. It took some time, but now that flag is the 3rd national flag of the Confederacy. Now that you have a bit of history about the actual flag itself, we can get into the part of our history that got twisted and has now made people focus on smaller matters and not the bigger picture itself. I know history is not a really well-liked subject, but coming from a history-loving father, I say it got passed down to me. I don't know, there's just something about looking at an artifact and seeing all like the dents and chips in it and wondering, oh, it was at this time and now it's here, it's still lasted, how that object got us from here to there. It's just a very fun feeling to like hold in your hands or just to like look at, that you couldn't shut me up when I was younger about history. Probably why I'm in such an advanced class. Further down the road, the flag had been adopted by advocates of segregation and white supremacy. The reason they did this was because in this time period, slavery was still going on in the South and had just ended after the war. There was still segregation with white and African American schools, white and African American bathrooms, etc., etc. And because this flag hanged over a lot of capitals at the time, it got correlated that if you like this flag, you are against African Americans yourself. Many, however, denied that aspect of its meaning and insisted it stood for Southern ideals exposed by the lost cause. The flag became a big deal and led both a double life of both a nostalgic symbol and a deeply advocate banner of racism. There's this historian, John M. Koski, and I remember him writing something in one of his books. He writes, Confederate heritage organizations insisted that the flag was rightfully theirs and stood only for the honor of their ancestors. The Confederate flag does not represent and has never represented racism. It's a symbol of Southern heritage, represented freedom, states' rights, individual responsibility, and the resistance of an out-of-control federal government. Look at H.K. Edgerton. He was an African American himself and is very proud to fly it. H.K. Edgerton is an African American activist for Southern heritage and is an African American member of the Sons of Confederate Veterans. He's often given it a prominent place at rallies for the Confederate flag.
I came here in objection to the way the thugs removed the Confederate cenotaph to silence them on Thursday. And also, it's been very rewarding to have a dialogue with some of these students and a few of their professors. Especially, not only did they remove the Confederate cenotaph, but they deemed it to be a racist object. Those ladies from the Memorial Association, they started building these cenotaphs. They knew that the Confederate Army was an integrated army, unlike the Union Army. Those monuments were built to red, yellow, black, white, and brown soldiers. Came to the Southland of America with Abraham Lincoln's General Order 200 to take the theater of war to the innocent old men, women, defenseless old men, women, and children. Rape, rob, kill them, burn them out. Do anything you can do to break the spirit of the Southern folk, and especially the Southern Army. These baby boys knew that the men were away. They came out of their classroom to defend these people against the carnage that was taking place. Not only just the white folks, but the black folks as well. So, to equate any of our monuments as racist, as Jim Crow monuments, is a lie. It is a continuation of the one-sided propaganda perpetrated from folks from the North. And most of the folks that I talked to today, I could tell right away that they were not from the Southland of America. And so I was here to have that dialogue as well as in support of Silent Sam.
This man is very sweet, and he brings up a very valid point. All we know and what we are brought up with is the one-sided story we hear from the North. This is all going to be drawn back to school, so it's best I start with this. I've been in many types of history classes, from regular to AP, and I can think of really only two things that get brought up in no matter what history you take that go into full units and test about. That is the Holocaust and major wars. In this case, I'm picking out the Civil War. Basically, taking out all the details, we are taught that the Civil War was about slavery, freeing the slaves, when that is not true. Slavery itself did not cause the Civil War. The most common cause is that the North was threatening states' rights. In those times, the powers of individual states trumped the federal powers, no matter what the Constitution said. This was the reason that when the war began and people had to decide which side to fight on, Southern officers of the U.S. Army and Navy overwhelmingly resigned to fight on their individual states in the Confederacy. The truth is, most Southern soldiers, 80% owned no slaves for one, would have considered themselves to be fighting to defend their homes, just as the Union were motivated to defend the Union. Lincoln's proclamation calling for an invasion of the South on April 15, 1861, was for two stated reasons: collection of federal tariffs and protecting federal forts. President Lincoln didn't say anything about slavery then or on his first inaugural address on March 4th, 1861, other than he endorsed that Corwin Amendment guaranteeing slavery forever. I have no purpose, directly or indirectly, to interfere with the institution of slavery in states where it exists. I believe I have no lawful right to do so and have no inclination to do so. Those who nominated and elected me did so with full knowledge that I made this and many similar declarations and never recanted them. If there be those who would not save the Union unless they could at the same time destroy slavery, I do not agree with them. My prominent object in this struggle is to save the Union, and is not either to save or to destroy slavery. If I could save the Union without freeing any slave, I would do it. The North was mad and blind. It would not let us govern ourselves, and so the war came. And now it must go on till the last man of this generation falls in his tracks, and his children seize the musket and fight our battle, unless you acknowledge our right to self-government. We are not fighting for slavery. We are fighting for independence, and that or extermination. There's a bunch more I could pull that show the Civil War was not about slavery. You're always going to find quotes on both sides of the argument. But the difference is whether you actually read them and look at the evidence than just taking them at face value and just jumping to the conclusions that best fit your story. The southern states wanted to govern themselves. Plain and simple. The four upper southern states, Virginia, North Carolina, Arkansas, and Tennessee, rejected repeatedly overturns of the Confederacy to join the Confederate States of America. The Virginia legislature had rejected secession as recently as April 4th by a 2-1 margin. Tennessee, North Carolina, and Arkansas each had rejected secession that winter. The Upper South refused Lincoln's demand that they would contribute soldiers, resources, and a safe passage for the Federal Army to invade the Deep South. The Upper South refused to invade their Southern comrades. They only joined the CSA after Lincoln's call for 75,000 volunteers to invade the 7 Deep South states. The Upper South did not believe that the federal government had the right to invade sovereign states. They believed that the states' rights, state sovereignty, and consent of the governed preempted central federal government authority. A bunch of states in the North threatened to secede. Massachusetts did so 4 times. The Massachusetts legislature passed a resolution of the secession, and Thomas Jefferson wished them luck. After the Louisiana Purchase, when there was talk of dividing the Union into the Atlantic Federation and the Mississippi Federation, Thomas Jefferson, quote, "Let them part by all means, if it is for their happiness to do so. It is but the elder and younger son differing." The use of force against a state would be more like a declaration of war than an infliction of punishment, and would probably be considered by the party attacked as dissolution of all previous compacts. To coerce a state would be one of the maddest projects ever devised. No state would ever suffer itself to be used as an instrument of coercing another. So it was not uncommon at the time to want to split apart and have your own rights. The only difference is they never did. And the South would have ended up doing so if the next steps weren't taken to the war. It never would have happened. The northern states didn't have slaves, yet still wanted to be apart. So if the war was about slavery, why were they doing the same thing we're defending? Another big part was that the North was industrial, the South was agriculture, but they say the North grew more food than us, and they didn't have slaves, so if they could do it, we could do it. We're not really that much different. Well, the North grew more food, yes. That is a poor argument because, as we have learned, the South mainly grew cotton and tobacco, which were cash crops, not food. They were some of the top exports America had at the time. The North didn't care if slaves were collecting it or not, as long as they were benefiting from the cash that came in with it. But once the cash cow seceded, they started a war to get it back. If the North would have successfully seceded from the North, they would have only had the industrial to make themselves money. They wouldn't have lasted very long as time went further, and us making more money with not having given them any. 90% of money was made off of imported goods. They were selfish and didn't like that we would keep it and eventually cause problems, so they did it for us. They used slavery as a moral justification so they wouldn't look bad when it was really all just about money. Robert E. Lee was an American Confederate general, best known for his service to the Confederate States of America during the American Civil War, during which he was appointed the overall commander of the Confederate States Army. He was a big fan of the Union and disagreed with the South seceding, but chose to lead the Confederate Army because he said that the Union was the aggressor, not the Confederates. The South was defending itself. He liked the Union and disagreed with the war, but he was native to Virginia and decided that the Union attacking his homeland was wrong. While we're on the subject, let's go back in time for a minute to the American Revolution. The colony seceded from the British sent troops to attack us, we defended our land and won. We learn about that, don't we? What do you think people in Britain think? They are probably telling their kids something completely different, but we ignore it because we won. right? Because the Union won, they told the story to make the Confederates get overlooked and the South twisted into this awful character, and I don't think that's fair. It's the most idiotic thing to me, and I don't understand how our education system can teach us this. It's more pushed nowadays in school that the war was about slavery back when my parents and their parents were kids. No matter what way you look at it, it makes no sense on why a white person would pick up a gun and fight for them. Especially when most of them didn't have them, except for the rich. Why would it be about a smaller number of people when it was a group effort? Imagine this for a moment. Let's pretend this is a real scenario. If you live in Florida, you know that our governor is telling Biden that you can't do this. This is Florida. F off. So what happened then could happen now. And 100 years down the road, those kids will be taught that that war that would happen during this time in the present would be about COVID and not wanting to get a little baby needle in your arm. When it would be bigger than that of us being violated of our rights. Like, are you serious? That's okay for that to happen, but us now in the present would be like, no, it's not that. It's a whole bigger issue than that. But if it were to happen and if we lost, it would be the exact same thing, just like it was in the American Revolution, just like it was during the Civil War. We are repeating our history. I could continue on this topic and debunk so many other things, but instead I'm going to recommend this guy to you. This guy is Boodling. His YouTube channel has 26.8 thousand subscribers, and he made a video called "The Civil War Was Not for Slavery." It's long, I know, but I promise the information is worth it. I even pulled some of his points from his video to mine because he covers everything, and I highly recommend it because I barely scratched the surface, and I feel that it is very important to bring back and talk about because it's affecting us in more ways than one. Remember how I said this was all going to come back to school? Well, here's the best part. You guys know I'm heavily involved in our school's DVT program, even back when it was called DVA. I'm usually the head anchor on the news, but I haven't felt safe going to class because of these girls in there that I haven't been on it as much anymore. So I've really just been devoting my time to working on the DVT Society and helping out the DVT1 kids for when they go up. Well, our TriCaster was down for a while, so the three of us did the news at our houses to still get it out while our teacher was out and couldn't fix it. The first one was fun, but the second one was one of those girls flopping around on her bed doing the news.
Good morning and welcome back to Shark Television, Shark TV. Today is Friday, January 21st. And I have nobody with me. Players interested need to have a physical on file and must attend all 3 days. That's it for today's news. Thanks for watching and have a great day, Sharks.
Our teacher did address it with us, and she got mad that she was getting called out in a group chat saying that she doesn't know why it's in the group chat when I don't even come to class anymore. My issues haven't been handled properly yet, and that I'd rather just focus on my job. I love doing the news and still to this day have no idea what I did to piss these girls off. They have yet to say anything to my face about it and just hide because they know they have no ground to stand on. So because of that, it's just threats and harassment that is not being handled by the school in the proper way, which is why they keep doing it because they know they are getting away with it. Continuing. I couldn't believe she was trying to defend herself doing the news on a bed, not thinking about how it makes the school look and more importantly, our teacher look. That could get all of us in trouble and accusing us of some very bad things that could possibly get people fired. That's not what the news is. Imagine Amy from Fox News if they ever did like a Zoom news of her just flopping around on her bed giving you the status report. That doesn't sound professional, right? Exactly. It may be boring, but welcome to the news. Hence why we have our regular to honors classes to make whatever videos you want. Not that I condone a minor jumping on a bed, but I digress. At least it's not the news and being broadcast everywhere. So I do mine at my dad's office desk because as you guys see, my actual work desk is in my bedroom. Now, what started this whole issue, the reason that this video is being made right now, is because my dad has a very presidential looking desk and has the actual Confederate flag behind him, handmade by this woman in South Dakota. Yeah, there was a mix-up. It is not South Dakota. The woman handmade the Confederate flag in South Carolina. She's a very sweet woman, and I wanted to fix my mistake. South Carolina. I asked my dad if we could move it, and he said no, because the way that it is being on the pole, if I moved it, it would hit the ceiling and possibly cause a hole. So me and my mom go and look on our school's rules and our code of conduct to see if there's anything against having it in a background of a video or wearing it or something along those lines, to see if there was anything that we could do. And there was nothing. There was nothing in our school's code of conduct that says that that flag couldn't be in the background of my news video. Probably because, I don't know, we learn about it in school and it is a national flag. My teacher, however, when I brought the news clip in on my flash drive the next day, said that we couldn't upload it because the flag was in the background. He says he understands that there's nothing in the code of conduct saying that we can't, but won't, because it should be common sense that it's a bad thing to have. He told me if I got it approved by our principal, he would upload it and not think twice about it. Funny how that rule wasn't there when there was a 16-year-old jumping around on her bed at home. So I went to him, I told him the story, and he, without even looking at it, told me no. Side note, my teacher didn't even look at the video either. He said, our school doesn't support things like that. This isn't the illicit news, this is the shark news, and we don't support things like that. His quote. I reminded him about the last news upload, and he said he doesn't disagree with me, but said that it's two completely different situations and that mine's worse. So let me get this straight. It is worse to have a historical flag in the background of my news video that does not correlate with racism at all and simply stands for Southern heritage and individual states' rights than a minor bouncing and flopping around on a bed doing our school news, which, mind you, is a violation of our school's rules and code of conduct that falls into the category of sexualizing a child. That is not as bad as a historical flag that we learn about in school in those very walls. Are you freaking kidding me? Nice to know where your priorities lie. What was even more frustrating was that no one else saw the video. The only ones that saw it were me and my parents. The only other people that knew the contents of the video were my teacher and my principal. But as soon as I leave to go get it approved by him, my teacher turns around and tells the entire class that we are filming the news today instead of uploading my video. And tells them why we are doing that. Putting more of a target on my back because this generation does not see. It has nothing to do with slavery or racism. So I do get asked after class as I'm leaving if I am racist or against black people. Which could affect me later, by the way, to get that associated with my name when I'm not. My teacher had no right to do that and should have known there was going to be consequences for doing so. So I ask you guys this question. Which is more inappropriate to you? The fact that our generation wants to rewrite history is only going to make us more weak and harm us. The Civil War and that flag had nothing to do with African Americans being harmed. We have all become a bunch of snowflakes, and I do not appreciate that school saying one thing and doing another. It's not just me that feels this way. I'm just the only one with enough balls to say something about the matter. So I got screwed out of doing the news at my home that the rest of them got to do. And when I could have been spending my time on other things, I didn't have to do that, but I chose to because I wanted to and I loved it. Just to be shamed for something that wasn't against any rules when hers was and is still up. I still ended up doing the news by myself, but it was rushed and sloppy and I looked like crap. You guys can say what you want about this video. I think I defended my point very, very clearly, and I just can't believe they find it more appropriate and okay to post that instead of mine. That's what really set me off, because it was so disgusting. I promise that my next video will be a whole lot better and not so serious and monotone, and I'll be happy and bubbly and stuff. I just thought this was very necessary to put a stamp on this moment, because this is not my first bad experience with this school. This is just what set me off to the point where this could harm them. And I have a bunch more I could share if I wanted to. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I love all my showstoppers so very much. And I will see you on the next one. That is a wrap. Bye!